What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come to the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I got another post came across my feed, and this post was from Scottie Pippen. And Scottie Pippen lately, man, I think he must be trying to get back in Michael Jordan's good graces because he just been he just been telling the truth lately about what he think about Mike Jordan and LeBron as far as this GOAT conversation go, right? But so on this post, Scotty, and I'm quoting Scotty, and Scotty says that MJ would still be better than LeBron if they swapped eras, right? And so let's talk about that. Like, so if they swap eras. Now we already know that in the era that Mike played in, it was more physical. Defense was tougher. You could hand check, and Mike still averaged over 3 points, over 30 points a game. Mike's, in a physical, like I said, defensive era, right? And he still averaged 30 points, over 30 points a game for his career. He not only did he average 30 points, but Mike dominated. At both ends of the court, he dominated, and he kept some really, really good Hall of Fame ball players from winning rings. Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton. Uh, Let me see. I don't think Dan Marley didn't get a ring when he played. When he played with Phoenix. Who else? Gary Payton didn't get a ring when he was at I don't know if Gary Payton got a ring when he was at LA, but I know Sean Kemp didn't get a ring. And so we already know what Mike did in the 90s. So now put Mike in this era, like in this era with LeBron James, where like they don't even play defense, and so they don't play defense, and you can't hand check. The game is not as physical, you know. And so Mike would definitely, if he averaged 32 or 30 something points per game, most people think that in this era, Mike would average like 45 points a game. That was said by Jalen Rose said it. Who else said it? Kenny Smith said Mike would average over 40. Vince Carter, and somebody else came out and said the same thing. So we know that, like in this era where they not all that, like I said, no, basically you can't play defense. It ain't no defense. Then on top of that, um, Mike's game just really only thing, and I think Mike would be all right when it came to shooting the threes. I don't, and because of the way Mike play and Mike's mentality, I don't even think Mike would. He still wouldn't shoot the three. He just would be going at people and just be dominating from with what the same way he did back in the 90s with the turnaround jumper, shooting, the mid-range, shooting that mid-range shot. He just would be just really just picking people apart with his game. And so that's without a question, Mike would definitely excel in this generation, right? So we know what LeBron did, in this era. What is it? 4 championship rings, 40,000 points. Not, I don't know what his per game average is, but I'm sure it's not as high as Mike's, right? And it's not as high as Mike's was, and in an era where the defense is not really, as tough as it was back in Mike era. But I think if you take LeBron out of this era and you put LeBron back in the 90s and the early 2000s, well, let's just say the 90s, where defense and everybody was more physical. I think that LeBron James would have a harder time, in my opinion, and especially well at the offensive end, at the defensive end. But let's take the offensive end first. Offensively, LeBron he don't have a low post game, so he's limited. His mid range game is average, I would say, and yeah, about average. I would say LeBron's mid range game is average, so he don't really excel there with the mid range game, and his 3 pointers. I don't know how LeBron with no basically no moves. I don't know how he would dominate. You know, and LeBron, like physically, I don't think LeBron is like he don't have that mindset because LeBron's offensive game, his side, he more so remind me of like a Karl Malone type player, right? But at the point guard position. But he's not as aggressive and he's not physically imposing as Karl Malone. He's about Karl Malone's almost Karl Malone's size. They pretty close in size, and he's faster than Karl Malone, but he's not as like I said, he's not as aggressive and as imposing as Karl Malone. So I don't think that he would be. I think that basically he'd probably be like a average dude. And I know LeBron James fans don't like to hear this, but I think if LeBron James played in the '90s, he'll probably just be an average ball player. Because and they don't want to hear this, but even in this era, I don't think he's that much that far above average in this era, in the era where, like I said, you don't have ain't nobody playing no defense, So I just think Mike would dominate in both eras. He would. I'm glad Mike played in a tougher era. That was the era that he was built for that. Not that he wouldn't challenge himself or he wouldn't try to dominate in this era. But I'm glad Mike played in the '90s. And yeah, I mean, who's to say that LeBron? Like I said, if LeBron had played in the '90s, he don't like his skill set. He don't present anything as far as offensively that shows me that he could have dominated. You know, he's not really dominating now. If you ask me, I mean, he been to the championship what 10 times and only and came away as a champion 40% of the time. That's I mean, it's impressive that he got there, but when you talk about NBA greats and the GOATs and stuff like that, everybody else have like a winning record when it comes to their championship, games and appearances. Most of the guys who are the greats in the game have that. So I don't think that I go with this quote right here, that Mike would have he would still be better than LeBron, even if he'd have played this era. Mike just was the ultimate competitor. And I'm glad that Scottie Pippen, is just being honest. He's just being honest and letting everybody know that Mike, Mike was that dude. And I agree with him. That's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. And with that being said, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next episode. Peace.